It's the Fantasy Commissioner Show.
Hey, it's the Fantasy Commissioners Show, the show for commissioners by a commissioner. I am Reginald James the Commish. Come join me here on the live feed at Rabble.tv. You can also hit me up on Twitter at Commish Show. And if you feel like it, send me an email at thecommissshow@outlook.com. Hey, so had a little technical difficulties here. Had some issues today getting on the air podcast, the interweb, all that good stuff. You know, you got that one-man show going and you're the producer and everything else. Hey, man, it happens sometimes. So we're here. We're ready. Let's roll. So happy Sunday. We got 2 weeks, people. 2 weeks. It's almost time we get our sport back. We get our sport back. Yes, I know we've had preseason football, but you and I both know. We know it's just it's a quick fix. Like a Band-Aid. Like a Curad. That's what it is. So it's just enough to keep me happy, you know. But when it counts, coming up, that's it, baby. We still get that little tease, though. You know, we got that Thursday night game again. You know, the official NFL kickoff, blah, blah, blahness. I hate that. Because you get so excited, and it's that one game, and then you got to wait for Friday and for Saturday, and then the real stuff starts. So Thursday doesn't count. Does it have fantasy implications? Yes, it does. It does. But Sunday is the real thing. We'll take Thursday because we really have no choice. We can't, you know, make the NFL put everything on hold for us. But so, hey, last week I told you that I was waiting. I was sharing. I was in a sharing mood. Keep you up to speed what's going on with Care Paravel. For the new listeners, that's the league that I've been running for almost 20 years. And I've been keeping you guys up to date as to the progress of people coming and paying their fees. And will he kick someone out the league? Stay tuned. I just think it gives you another perspective. Here I am. I'm trying to help folks with their league. And, you know, you never know. Things can crop up in my league. And it could be a learning lesson for everyone, not just for myself, for everyone. If I share and I tell you what's going on and how I dealt with it. So anyways, I was talking about there are only 2 people left, and they had a week to get their money in. The pool money deadline was the 22nd. Because on Friday was the keeper deadline, and then I released everything. So we were waiting. So one person did pay. So they took care of their business, and they are in the league, and they will draft with us next Saturday. And the other person decided to wait until the night before the deadline. They said that they had other pressing issues, and the night before the deadline, they informed me that they wouldn't be joining us this season. So I have to follow my own advice. I mean, I believe in that. You have people who always give advice and don't follow their own, you know, but I'm not going to get political, but that was the first thing that came to mind. Now, I have to follow my own advice that I give to you, which is not to make it personal. So all I'll say is that wasn't really cool, and I'll leave it at that. Well, no. No, 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 no. Okay, I will say this. I'll say this first, and then I'll leave it alone. So today I decided that it's let's learn a lesson from the experiences of others day, which is really what this show, the FCS, the Fantasy Commissioner Show, that's what it's all about anyway, every week. But hey, it's more fun to officially call it something. Like yesterday. That's right. Let's skip that tangent. So I just did. I'm going to call it something, but that's what we do here every week. I started this because I just wanted to help folks, to help the fantasy commissioner, the put upon fantasy commissioner, whose job becomes hard because people just start to think about themselves and will totally dismantle the league. So anyways, even though the first letter that I sent to my league was on April 28th, April 28th was when I opened the league and I said, hey, you can start sending your money in, blah, blah, blah. These are the rule changes, although there weren't any rule changes this year. I'm just saying that as an example. April 28th. Let's count, class. April, May, June, July, August. Becky, how many is that? Yep, Becky said 4. That's about 4 months. Good job, Becky. You're such a good student. 4 months. 4 months. And even though we had a league of veterans, and I always talk about that, we have a league of veterans, and things are good. And that's what you want. You want to weed out the big heads, and you want people who have a vested interest in keeping a league together because they like it and they think it's fun, and you like being together. So the collective will try and hold things together, because if people decide to, let someone run roughshod and we have hurt feelings and all this nonsense that can happen, which is the theme for today. We have all these things happen like that, then your league is gone. So I talk about that a lot when I talk about Cara Paravel, because we've been together, and I'm just pleased. I'm pleased. I'm pleased as punch. I'm pleased as punch about the Cara Paravel League. So even though we have a league of veterans, and this particular person had been in the league forever, and even though I keep everyone informed about the key dates and such, right? And even though in our league we don't have crazy drama and nonsense, we just don't, something can happen where someone could have totally informed me sooner than they did, and they chose not to do that. So I hope what happened to me last week, while it wasn't on the level of, nuclear annihilation, it is still something that I think can help you, listener of this podcast, you, fantasy commissioner, you, new fantasy football commissioner, that even in the best of leagues, which I do consider mine to be, I think it's run well. I will pat myself on the back for that. Yes, I will. But I also give credit to the members of the league, because they're not a bunch of knuckleheads. They read the rules, most of them, and they act according to the deadlines. They play within the rules that are set up. No one tries to work outside the rules or find a loophole to work their way through. So I give them credit as well. So I give all 12 members of the Cara Paravel League credit for having a good year after year after year after year. But things can happen where someone just doesn't reciprocate or act in good faith, better faith, in the same way or manner that has been offered to them and the league throughout the years. So that's all I'm going to say. Now I'm done. Now I'm done. So plan ahead to protect your league. Okay? So, as commissioner, I had to find a replacement. And I did. So a former owner came back. So the machine keeps grinding along. Grind. Why did I use that word? I don't know. Grind. That sounds so Spartan grinding. No, the machine. Remix. So the machine just keeps moving and flowing along effortlessly through the ether. I like that much better. Was that better? Was that good, Becky? Becky says yes. Friday night, I confirmed the keepers. We had 2 people who didn't make a claim. I also used a randomizer, and I've talked about that before in the effort of a fantasy commissioner being transparent. You don't choose the draft order in a cave somewhere all by yourself with the wolves and Mowgli. You do it in a way that everyone can check it and look at it. So I'll tell you a bit about this randomizer. Most of them are like this, but the one that I like is at Fantasy Toolbox. I love it. And I used it to determine the order of our draft. But basically, if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is pretty much what happens. You select how many members are in your league, and then you will put the name and the email addresses and list them in a little box. In one column it'll say team, and the other column it'll say email. So you put that information in, and then you press a button, and then it will go ping. It won't really do that, but I like that. It'll go ping. And then you'll have your draft order right there in front of you. Now, what I love about it, and I always talk about as a commissioner, cover your butt, protect yourself, because while you take the steps to do everything you can to be transparent, once again, life can happen. Today's theme, we'll see in a little bit. Life can happen. So you always want to be able to protect yourself. Say, hey, no, this is what I did. Look at you. So now we use Yahoo. So Yahoo will list will list the actions of the commissioner. It'll track it so other members can go see. So if you decide to diddle with something that you weren't supposed to, it'll show up there, which I think is great. Now with the randomizer, it will send an email to every member of the league informing them of the draft order. There's no getting around that. So you can't, as a commissioner, you can't, bing, and there's your draft order. You're like, oh man, I'm drafting last. I don't like that, or whatever you don't like. I'm going to do it again. Well, if you decide to be a wise ass and you do it again, then the league is going to get 2 emails, and they're going to see that you're dicking around. So that's why I like it. As a matter of fact, for example, I'm picking second again, which I hate. Now, some of you are like, man, what is he talking about? No, I don't want to draft second. And I drafted second last year, too. And so there's no way to get around that. So when it popped up, there I was. I'm listed as second, and I'm like, oh, man. But that's the way it is, and it's locked, and it's done. So that's good. Protects you as a commissioner, and there's nothing you can do to get around it, and that's just the way it is. But I'm looking at this, and also when the members of your league get the email, there will be a link there that they can hit, and it'll take them back to the website, and it'll show them the results. I love that. That's how you can protect yourself, guys. No pulling names out of a hat. No, just making stuff up. Even if you are being honest about it. Even if even if you are being random and you're randomly pulling things out of a hat and all that not stuff, right? There's no way to prove that you didn't just choose the draft order in the way that you want it to. But in this case, it's done. It's easy. So I do recommend it. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, Oh, man. What's up with this randomizer? Why do I keep getting second? So I was curious. And I'm like, all right. So I went back. And I wanted to take a peek. So I went back and I looked at last year's draft order. And it was different. It was different. So I was like, all right. Okay. I don't feel so bad. I mean, there's only one other person who is drafting this year who are drafting in the same place. And it was the 11th spot. She's drafting there again in the 11th spot. So only she's there, I'm there, and we're the only two people. Everyone else got mixed up, so that's good. So there's no cyber conspiracy for me to get all agitated about. I can't blame Skynet. Or can I? So my keeper this year is David Johnson. And I want to talk about it, kind of. Because I would like to talk strategy. But that's the thing. That's the dual-edged sword. I know that I don't know who may be listening, so I can't really share with the rest of the world all my strategies because I don't want it to come back and bite me right in my Jing Jong Johnsons. So I'm not going to talk about who I expect to get or who I want by being in the second spot to draft. We'll talk about it next week. Well, we won't talk about it next week because if I stick to this schedule, if I get back on track, I will probably be doing the show live on Friday, which will be the night before our draft, which once again, most of you folks aren't listening to the show right now as I do it live at 5:21 Eastern Time on Sunday. Anyway, are you? No, you're not. You're not. No one's listening. You hear the crickets? They're quiet crickets. But you're listening to this on Monday and Tuesday night. It's Wednesday morning right now, and you're listening to it on your phone, right? Yes, you are. But you're not listening to it live, which is okay. The archives are great. They're for everyone. So, anyone out there dropping Dez Bryant down the rankings because of the injury to Tony Romo? Anyone out there? Anyone out there feel ballsy enough to actually draft and use Dak Prescott? I'm from the planet where you wait until the last weekend of preseason to hold your league draft. Now, some of you forward thinkers who had your draft already, and I'm not calling you a forward thinker for having your draft early. I'm not doing that. Not that. I think having your draft early, like before the preseason even starts, and you know who you are, it's crazy. I'm suggesting you're a forward thinker because if you're in a dynasty league, you already knew that Romo's days were almost over, that he had only about another year, right? I mean, the injuries, it's been obvious. Good for him. He wants to play in the NFL. I would want to play in the NFL as long as I could, too. I mean, man, what a gig. So you drafted Dak in your dynasty rookie draft. And I don't think many of us who's paying attention expected Romo to play all season anyway. He was going to get hurt somewhere along the way. But this injury should send him into retirement after this season. It really should. So if you're having a dynasty league draft coming up, Dak is now on the radar. For the people who are sleeping, who aren't paying attention. I hate when that happens. When people get rewarded for doing nothing. You see, that's why you draft early. No, dude, that doesn't make any sense. I don't want to get into the whole why I don't think leagues should draft early thing, but in a nutshell, don't you want to be able to evaluate the players as long as you can? Don't you want to be able to sift and filter through all the news from camp to help you make a better decision when you finally decide to draft, don't you want that opportunity as long as you can? I'm just throwing out the question. Take a moment to think about it. But that's pretty much it. Some of us want as much evaluation time as possible. Yes, players get hurt. I've had this conversation before, and like, yeah, but you know what? People get hurt. They get hurt the first game of the season. Yeah, yes, they do. Absolutely, they do. But the season has started. You had no other option. It's not like you get to wait until week 2 or week 3 to hold your league draft. Anything's possible, but most people don't do that. They don't wait until week 5. Well, okay, now I think we ought to get started. That's not what happens. So that argument never fits. It never works for me. I hate that whole elementary school. Well, everybody else and anything can happen. Logic, people. Because you do or did have, because did if you've already drafted, you did, did. You have the option to wait until the last week in the preseason to draft. That is an option. I keep saying weekends because weekends are usually the choice that people make. They usually do it during the option, during the weekend because, people are working and work schedules don't mesh well. We get that. I just heard a guy say his league was holding their draft on September 5th. That's a Monday night. And if that works for them, great. I mean, the point is, I want to be as prepared for the LSATs as possible. Wouldn't you? So we ended last week's podcast with the classic letter, which as long as the FCS, the Fantasy Commissioner Show, goes on, who knows how long that will be, as long as I am doing this, I will read this letter every year. It's a great real-life example. The only issues that I could present from my real-life example as a commissioner was someone informing me the night before the deadline that they weren't going to be part of the league. That's about as good as it gets. It's not as bad as this. So if you listen to last week's podcast, I read the letter, but I kind of read it as a goodbye. It was from someone named Alex, and I read it, and then I said, see ya. So I'm about to read it again, and I'm going to discuss it for a bit. And I'm also going to continue the theme of commissioners who mean well, but find themselves in situations not of their liking. So I'm going to replay an interview that I did last year with Alan, who was a commissioner and had a bunch of knuckleheads who decided to act like, knuckleheads. And we'll listen to how he dealt with the situation. That's coming up. But let's revisit Alex's letter. Reginald James will now play the role of Alex. When I first started this league, I thought it was going to be a blast. I invited 11 of my friends to play fantasy football with me, an activity I quite enjoyed. That is no longer the case. Over the last 13 years or so, I've endured a myriad of unforeseen but utterly preventable problems. The list includes 3 attempted briberies, 2 calls for my resignation, 1 call for my impeachment, 3 separate people questioning my friendship and integrity, countless of you coming to my work to complain about the league. That's just nonsense. Shh, I'm reading a letter. Shh. But it just, hold on. Let me finish reading the letter. Okay. Countless of you coming to my work, yes, that is nonsense, to complain about the league, and 1 obvious count of collusion. This all reached a boiling point over this last week when 2 of our owners contrived a plan in order to improve one team via a lopsided trade. Just so the other owner could get into the trade pool. When I asked the two about the trade, they told me that if I did not put the trade through, they wanted their money back. As I had not received any complaints from other owners, I allowed the trade. After that, however, I received a slew of complaints from other owners. I am going to reverse this trade. That decision is final. Now, before all of you get up in arms, I would like to remind you of one very important point. This is just fantasy football. We are playing for $300, which is nothing to sneeze at. But come on, is it really important enough to cheat out your friends and colleagues? I must be the poorest and youngest of all of you, and I make that in 2 days' work. You people are all out of your minds. I cannot explain how utterly miserable this year of fantasy football has been. I considered all of you to be friends and people that I cared about, but apparently the lure of $300 is too great, and nothing like friendship or decency could get in the way. Needless to say, this will be my first and last year as your commissioner. I will be withdrawing my name from the trade pool as the playoffs are starting next week. There will be no more trade. I have drawn from the pool, and Ike, you win. Congratulations. I would also like to use this time to let those of you who care know that I will not be in the golf league next year. I'm sure you're all broken up about this. If anyone has questions or complaints, go ahead and write them on a piece of paper. Find a nice envelope and shove it up your ass. Best of luck in the playoffs. Happy Thanksgiving, Alex. So, big picture. This is just one example of how things can go wrong. There are many variations. So if you consider the 5 rules we've been talking about, things may work out more smoothly. You never know, though, right? But at least if you put in the time, be the what if commissioner. So we can't say in all certainty that this could have been prevented. Human nature, being the stinky wild card that it is, stinky. So what should Alex have done and should not have done? First, he said that he invited 11 of his friends. He mentions this idea, the idea of being with his friends, twice. When I first started this league, I thought it was going to be a blast. I invited 11 of my friends to play fantasy football with me, an activity I quite enjoyed. Then later, I considered all of you to be friends and people that I cared about, but apparently the lure of $300 is too great, and nothing like friendship or decency could get in the way. Money. Oh, yeah. Money gets in the way, baby. Money gets in the way. All kinds of ways. Remember Josh Gordon, Le'Veon Bell? We talked about that last week. Money is the reason you leave the problem child alone. They will lose you money. Money will change the behavior of your family and friends. It's true. Strange enough. Money is the reason you hope folks will act right. The incentive to do the right thing. That's why in my league, that's why we started playing for money, because we had an issue where we were just playing for bragging rights, and someone had 2 teams and traded with themselves to try to make a super team, and that's a whole nother story. And all I'll say is, after that, I promised myself that I would know everyone in the league. I wouldn't be in a situation where I needed to fill a slot and I just put something out on a message board, which is how I got this person. It has some openings and I needed to fill them. So I need to know everyone. And 2, I said, we're going to play for money. And I actually did it as an incentive for people to stay interested and to compete, to make it more competitive, gets people interest. Because if someone, you know this, if you have a bunch of leagues, you know the league that gets top priority. The league that gets top priority is the league where you can win all the money. So that's why I started doing it years ago. So anyways, that's why rule number 2 is business before family and friends. So it sounds like Alex expected the other 11 to act a certain way because he considered them his friends. Rule number 2, again, is business before family and friends. I'm not expecting my family and friends to act like family and friends until after the business is over. Friends coming to work to beef about a fantasy league? That's out of control. It's out of control. Money changes things. Money will change how people will vote against trades. It's not because they're bad seeds, but because people want to win that money. Self-interest. That's why they don't get to vote. That's why you have rules set up to protect the league. Or another way to look at it, you protect people from themselves, from destroying a league, your league. When a league starts, you may have to sort out the bad apples. We say that all the time. And you're going to find out who you can trust and who just wants to win. And it doesn't matter if they use a scorch and burn tactic to do it. They'll do it. Your rules are set up to protect yourself from that. When I asked about, this is Alex again. When I asked about the trade, they told me that if I did not put the trade through, they wanted their money back. As I had not received any complaints from other owners, I allowed the trade. Look, I'm a believer in only the commissioner rules on trades. I know that there are a lot of people who believe as I do, and I know there are other people who don't. Fine. But for me, only the commissioner rules on trades, because other league members will tend to vote in their own self-interest. They won't think about the big picture. You know what picture they're going to be thinking about? Their own selfie. And it looks like that was the case. The other members should have, look, choice, trust Alex to do the right thing. Or, shall we say, he should have, as a commissioner, I think he had two options. He could freeze their rosters before talking to them. He could remove them from the league and give them their money back. That would be the best move to avoid nonsense. Or, he could reverse the trade, freeze their rosters, refuse to give them their money back, and kick them out. Which honestly would probably create a bunch of man drama with chest puffing and the proving of the manhood, which usually ends badly. Men behaving badly in the name of being men. Bunch of nonsense. But if he chose to go that route, he would send a letter to the whole league and explain exactly what was happening. The decision he made about not giving them their money back and why. Explain it. Why? Why? Because everyone puts money in to win it. And the two knuckleheads, they forfeited that money when they decided to act up. And this way they have to face off against the whole league, and it doesn't become a personal battle between Alex and the two troglodytes. Got it? Because now they have to respond to the other members why they colluded, acted like asses, and then ask for their money back after they get called out for it. Yeah, we're going to act like a bunch of dumbasses, but don't blame us. Oh, you don't like what we're doing? Well, we're going to leave your league. That whole kind of mentality just runs through the whole veins of this country. It drives me nuts. In other words, in the act of full transparency, which as a commissioner, you always want to try to do, they have to face off with the rest of the league for their actions. Now, maybe the other members thought Alex would take care of it, so they said nothing. But when he let the trade go through, then they decided to speak up. Now, maybe the other members thought, if they had a problem with it. If you're in a league and you actually have the option at a minimum to say something, to voice your opinion, even in a league where the commissioner still is the only one, then you say something. Speak up. Next. Here's a story of a lovely lady. Next up is Alan. We're going to replay our interview, which it'll speak for itself. But new commissioners, pay close attention. So this is a replay of an interview from last year. So I would like to welcome to the FCS, the Fantasy Commissioners Show, Alan. He was a commissioner, and he was a commissioner for 3 years. And the first couple of years were okay, but the last year, drama ensued, and he didn't want any part of it ever again. He's one of the fantasy commissioners that we actually lost. Okay, so he's going to tell us what happened, and so hopefully, you new owners who are listening to us now, you can learn from his experiences, because that's what this is all about. That's to help each other, to learn how to make a happy fantasy league. That's why we're here, to take care of that kind of business. So, Alan, welcome to the Fantasy Commissioner Show.
Hello.
Tell everyone, when did you start your league?
I started my league probably in, I want to say probably around 2010.
2010?
Probably around in that neighborhood.
So you're you fell off just recently. So that was 2010, and you ran your league for 3 years, you said?
Right.
3 years, right? So that's 2020. Yeah, you just fell off, man. So oftentimes when people start a league, they start it with other friends and family. Sometimes they start with strangers, but usually, they're doing it to try and get people together. And is that why you started the league?
Yes. Yep. I wanted to try to get folks together from different circles, and I'm trying to get like a competitive group together.
Right.
And I know some guys from different circles, and said I wanted to bring them together. They're competitive. They're really into the football. So that was my thing there.
Was there anything special about your league? Did you have like 5 quarterbacks? Some leagues are like crazy. They have crazy
No, mine was it was a standard league. Let me see. I can't remember exactly how many roster spots. But your starting quarterback, I think 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a team defense, and a kicker.
Right.
And basically say about 6 bench spots, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like just a standard league, nothing special.
So did the league have a special name at all?
No, I just named it. Say that particular year, it would be League 2010, League 2011.
That's pretty generic, dude.
Yeah, it was. I kept it nice and simple.
Okay, so tell us about the first year. How did it go? Did you have any drama, anything? We know stuff went down the 3rd year, but was the first year smooth sailing?
Oh, but yes, basically smooth sailing. The only stressor was taking care of the business in the beginning. Making sure I could get a draft date where everybody could, be there at the same time, and collecting the money. That was it. Otherwise, smooth sailing through that year. My second year, starting off, same deal.
In the second year, did you change anything? Were there any rules that you changed, from the first year? Anything that went down that you learned and said, well, I need to change that the second year? Anything like that happen?
No, my league was pretty straightforward and pretty simple. I might have did something as far as, I think I did change the point system. Tell you the truth, I can't remember, but no, I pretty much kept it the same.
Did you lose anyone? Did you lose any owners from year 1 to year 2?
No, everybody pretty much stayed the same. It pretty much stayed the same. I brought everybody back from the previous year. Everybody was all gung ho to go.
See, now that's good, because I've had the experience of trying to find someone after we've had someone leave the league, or actually kicked someone out. It's trying to, and people are listening to us right now. They know, if they've had the experience. Sometimes, it's a pain in the butt to be trying to fill in that slot. And then other times, people, man, when are you gonna let me in your league? We don't
right.
It's full. Man, when are you gonna let me in your league? No one's. Look, when something happens, I'll let you know. Man, when you gonna let me in your league? What? Come, dude. Oh, hey, man. Someone just moved, and they're having their first kid, and we have a slot. Nah, man, I ain't interested.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes it's like, what? So you were cool. Year one, year two, no problem. Same owners, right? Smooth.
Exactly. Yep. Year three, I think I had a little snag. It was just with the draft date, and that's where I had a little conflict there. And then
Do you remember
just trying
specifically
to
what
get.
happened?
Oh, I had my players, but like one player couldn't get me in. Couldn't make it to the draft that day. There's a little conflict there, so this is sort of like trying to work through that. And I believe I solved that. I was able to solve it like with a different time slot. I sort of managed to do it with a different time slot, and that's where I managed to work that out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, whew, okay,
Right.
dodge that bullet.
Well, one thing that I suggest to new owners and owners in general is to be consistent. And I talk about that all the time over covering many subjects with running a fantasy league, but be consistent. And so I think especially if you're new, you haven't started a tradition in year one, obviously, but when you announce to the league that the season is open or that the season has started, try and do it the same time every year and already know when your draft is going to be. So that gives them plenty of time to get their schedule set. Try and be as proactive as possible. So with our league, as you well know, I'm coming in, I'm talking to you guys in May, and I tell you exactly when the draft is going to be, what time, when the pool money is due, the pool deadline, when you have to turn in your keepers, and as a commissioner, you want everything to be clear up front and be consistent. So everything is charted out when you have your very first contact with your league. For us, that's usually around May, I believe, something like that. But I keep all the emails, so it's easy to look at. And that's another thing, newbie commissioners, new folks. I kind of hate that word, newbie. Keep all your emails so you can always go back and look up things just in case someone challenges you about something that you said or about a rule or anything that goes down. Keep all your records. So we got the third year, and
Yes.
now you had a scheduling conflict, but that worked itself out, right?
Yes. We managed to work that out through like the time. So got a time where everybody could make it and dodge that bullet.
Right. Okay, so tell us about the drama that we've been teasing and hinting about.
Oh, goodness sakes. Had two guys with, I guess, big egos. And, like the message board where you can make comments or you do your trash talking.
That's right.
Well, that's what was going on. The one guy was getting the best of the other on the trash talking.
So there's a daily pissing contest on the message boards.
Yes. So the one guy he knew he was getting under the other one's skin and kept on going. So, just couldn't take it. And it was really getting pretty bad on there to the point where, let me see, let's meet somewhere and, battle this out. I'm like,
fisticuffs.
I tell you, I'm
So-
thinking, are you kidding me? Go
So
ahead.
did any of the other members or owners complain? Did they come to you and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Did they, was it an issue with them, or was this just something that was bothering you?
The other league players, they were, they saw, some of them saw what was going on. Some didn't pay attention. Some say, "Are you kidding?" But really it was an issue with me. So, because like I said earlier, I'm about trying to bring folks together.
Right.
I didn't want any division. This is all about fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
I tried to, what I ended up doing was shutting down the message board.
So before you shut down the message board, did you talk to them? Did you try and did you take any other steps before you did that?
Not really, because I was dealing with two bullheaded folks.
So you didn't send an email to Bullhead 1 and say, "Hey, dude, what's going on? Can you just pull it back?" And then send an email to Bullhead number 2 and say, you know how he is. Can you just take the high road? Because, dude, we're just trying to have fun. No conversations like that at all?
No, no. It's just like these are two different guys. They didn't really know each other at all. And I just figured I'd just go ahead and take the bull by the horns and I'm shutting it down.
So there were no SALT treaty talks, you just no Geneva, no Geneva conventions. You just cut them off. Preemptive strike, huh?
That's it. I was done. I didn't think there would be any chance of reasoning with them, so I just shut it down.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to have as little to do with it as possible, and that was sort of like my quickest solution,
Right. So when you stopped the message board, what happened? Did that solve the problem, or?
Let me see. I shut down this message board. I did have some folks question that, but they understood what was going on, so there was no conflict with that. And then the one player, I guess he was so upset, he just didn't set up a lineup for a while. He basically wasn't playing.
Rogue owner.
Yes, sirree.
That's what we call those guys, rogue owners. And they leave a ghost ship. And that's funny because, I just came across that term recently, but I never heard anyone call a ownerless team a ghost ship. Have you ever heard that term before?
I haven't heard that one.
Me neither. So, yeah, so they left a ghost ship.
Yes.
So his feelings were hurt, and he left. And did he inform you at all, or he just disappeared? Right?
He just gone. Disappeared. No, there was no action on his roster. And I'm looking at this, just keeping an eye out on everything like a commission does, just to make sure everything is going smooth.
Yep.
And noticed that the lineup wasn't being taken care of, and I'm thinking, oh, great. Because we're coming down, we're over the halfway mark. And this is where everything starts to sort of, I don't want to say it, everything, you start to see a picture on who's going to be basically how your winning is going to sort of take shape.
Yeah, who your contenders are, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So I'm
thinking,
thinking
right about this time of year, you think?
Right, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Exactly, right around now. And so I'm thinking, how am I going to solve this? And that's when I talked to you about taking over a team, because I couldn't get just any old Joe to take care of just put in a lineup and don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? So I needed somebody that was competent and that could play or knew how to play.
Thank you very much, sir.
To take over that to take over the team, so that the competition would remain consistent. Throughout the remainder of the league.
Right. So were there any complaints when they brought this outsider in to take over the team?
No, and there was no complaints because it solved our problem. To keep the competition consistent. So everybody understood that, and it was all good going on throughout the rest of the season.
Did I do a good job? Because I don't remember. So did I do a good job?
I remember you adjusting the team. Because I think there was a few adjustments that you did, and to make the team competitive. So yeah, you worked out pretty good. You did a real good job.
All right, sweet, good to know.
Yeah.
So did you ever hear from the guy who left the league, or he's still?
Actually, when you took over the team,
yeah,
he was still looking at. I think he was still keeping an eye out on what was going on. He goes, "Hey, somebody's taking over my team." I'm like, "Yeah, I got a league to run. You're abandoning the team. I can't just let it sit there like abandoned. You're messing up the whole competition."
Right.
He was sort of shocked about it. I was like, "Really? Come on."
You're a knucklehead. What do you expect?
I'm telling you. Oh, you're trying to ruin it for everybody. So he was trying to do like a protest type of deal. So, yeah, he was going to try to ruin the whole thing. No. Not going to happen.
when you take what will we call this, forcible action, when you make that executive decision, you have to make sure that you lock the owners out so they can't get back in. So I'm assuming that's what you did. I mean,
Yeah,
I had
exactly it.
Right.
Yeah, because he couldn't go back in. He's like, hey, I can't go back in or anything. I can't do anything with my team.
Yeah.
I said, that's right. You abandon it. I got a league to run. I got 9 other guys, or 8 other guys that I gotta, keep in line, or keep things running for these other guys.
Absolutely. So after all of this, you didn't return for year 4, huh?
No, I called it a day on that one. I said, done. It was just too much for me.
So go on.
I like things smooth sailing.
So just that one instance, that one scenario, and there was nothing else. So you didn't talk about anything else. So as far as I understand, this one event that happened, that was enough to spoil it for you forever, huh?
Well, not really. You know what? The other thing about it was, I was playing in 3 other leagues.
Right.
And then there was a 4th league that I didn't join. And it's hard to be a commission. You're trying to keep an eye on your team and then play in other leagues. So I guess you would call me I like to be a player. And I guess I'm more behind the scenes. And like you said in the one show, like you said previously, before, I don't like to wear the commissioner hat if I don't have to.
Right.
I was wearing the commissioner hat too much.
Yeah. That's one thing I talk about a lot too. And I think in the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about commissioners who are just trying to, in my eyes, they're looking for things to do. Why? Well, because I'm the commissioner. Okay, well, the best thing a commissioner to do, in my opinion, is to just get out the way. You have these jobs these things that you have to do in the preseason. Getting the money together, making sure that the schedule is set, making sure everyone understands the schedule. If there's any new rules, you get those out. You make sure everyone understands that, or you make sure they have it, and it's up to them to read the rules. But you have a lot of secretarial, that's not the word I want to use, administrative things that you need to take care of. But once the draft is over, so if you have a keeper league, maybe one of the last things that you do is, assign the keepers, that sort of thing. But once the draft starts, I just want to play. And I think some commissioners feel that they have to commission. That's a word I made up the other day because commission, I'm abusing the word, but I don't care. I'm doing it here. It's my show. I'm abusing the word commission, but, folks feel they have to commission. They have to do something. Well, you don't. Part of being commissioner is just not doing anything. You don't want to have to do anything. You don't want to deal with any drama on the message boards, like what happened in your league. You don't want to have to deal with 2 guys colluding and trying to make a super team. You don't want to have to deal with any of that. And I think for some folks, especially people who just start out, they think part of being a commissioner is doing something. And I think it's the opposite.
Totally agree. Like I said, I like to be a player.
Right.
And enjoy, So that year, I had the commissioner hat on too much, and it was just like, I'm done. Plus, I mean, it did take away a little bit from playing in the other leagues because I sort of had to. I've sort of made it spread myself thin,
right,
in order to run the league too. And if something did crop up, it just would take away from the other leagues where I was playing.
And so when this drama is going back and forth, you were probably looking at it during the course of the day to see how much more this thing was going to get out of hand, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Because this took this went on probably for about Probably like about 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
I was hoping it would just settle down
Mm-hmm.
and diffuse it, and it didn't. And but I was trying, like you say, I was trying to stay out of it,
Yep.
and it was just at the point where I had to get in there and do some take action on a few things.
Right. So after all of this, is there any lessons that you learned that you could offer as advice to anyone who's listening, any new commissioners who are just starting out?
Some of the things that you mentioned, like you said, having like your schedule and time set, basically communicating with everybody and making sure everybody knows what's going on. That's basically one of the main thing there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you have something that develops like I had, I mean, like you said, you probably could, depending on the person, you probably could negotiate and see if you can work it out
Right.
between all parties. For me, I mean, I know these guys are sort of like really bullheaded, and I didn't feel like doing a negotiation thing anyway. I said, nah, for me, shutting it down was what I wanted to do to solve it. Because
Right.
I just like you were talking about, I don't like wearing the commissioner hat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think I would have been wearing the commissioner hat a little bit longer. So
Right.
it was a quick solution. I'm done. I mean, we're grown-ups here, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I understand that totally.
so, I mean, mainly like you were saying, the stuff that you mentioned earlier and running a league, I totally agree with. That's pretty much in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
I would go along with, definitely.
So, dude, I'm going to tell you it's an honor for you to be my first interview guest on the Fantasy Commissioner Show. You don't even know. I'm very pleased that it was you, and I'm so glad that you took the time out to tell everyone your story, to refresh my memory, because a lot of this stuff you were talking about, I'm like, So I really appreciate it, and I hope anyone who listens to this cast that they're able to take something, at least something, going forward to make sure that they don't have the same thing happen in their league, or that they're able to take care of a situation proactively, because drama will happen. And usually, the worst stuff that goes down usually happens it usually happens in the early years, because you have people oftentimes coming and going. You lose people for stupid reasons. You lose people for good reasons, and you have to figure out who the good ones are, because that's what you want. You want a good core, so that you can, as we say, stay and play. Once again, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the folks?
Thanks for having me on the show. I enjoy it. I've been listening to it over the course of your programming.
Thank you, sir.
And I enjoy it.
Much appreciated, dude. Once again, thank you for coming on to the show. This is Reginald James with Alan. See ya.
Good luck.
So there you go. So we have two stories of commissioners who had the best of intentions, and then something stupid crops up. You just have to learn how to deal with these things. So hopefully you learned something today from those two examples, and we will be here every week to try and make the life of a fantasy football commissioner a good one, a happy one, and a successful one. So thanks for listening, folks. Once again, you can follow me on Twitter at CommisShow. Send me an email at thecommissshow@outlook.com. This is the Fantasy Commissioner Show. I am Reginald James, the commish. Until next time, see ya!